You're standing in your kitchen at 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve frosting cookies that you didn't even want to make. You've already made 2 other desserts. Your feet hurt, you're exhausted, you're tired, and your mind is racing, worrying about tomorrow, about whether the turkey's going to be approved by everybody or if your mother-in-law is going to think it's too dry. You're worried about if your sister is going to make you feel judged and criticize the way you parent. You want to make sure that your kids have this magical Christmas that you didn't have growing up. And then you want to make sure that your husband's family feels welcomed and that nobody leaves disappointed. And somewhere under all of that performing, you're asking yourself, when do I get to just exist? When am I going to be enough? Here's what I know about you. You've probably done the work. You've read all the books. You've gone to some therapy. You are very aware of what your triggers are. The thing is, you know you're people-pleasing. You know you're performing, but yet you don't seem to be able to stop because all the knowledge hasn't broken you free. You're still on this hamster wheel and you don't know how to get off. You're saying yes when you mean no. You're overextending yourself when you're already depleted, and you're trying to be everything to everyone, and you're disappearing yourself, and you're tired of it. And I've got some news for you. The problem isn't that you need better boundaries. It's not that you need to say no more often. It's not any of those things. The real issue is that you're still operating from an identity that needs constant proof. It needs constant validation. It's like this never-ending pit that it's like a tapeworm. It just keeps taking and taking and taking and taking and depleting you at the same time. And today, we're burning that script. Okay, so listen closely because this is going to shift everything for you. The way out of this trap isn't behavior modification. It's actually identity reclamation. And there's 3 parts to it. The first part that we're going to be working with today is reclaiming your authority. You're going to stop giving other people the power to determine if you're enough or not. That authority, it was never theirs in the first place. How'd they even end up with it? We gave it to them. Now we're going to take it back. Part 2 is we're going to expose the orphan operating system. We're going to identify exactly where you're still running on the orphan spirit. That's desperate need for validation, the fear of rejection, that compulsion to perform, because you can't shift what you can't see. So we're going to expose it. And then part 3, we're going to step into sonship. And that's where we meet. That's where we move from I need to prove myself to no, I'm enough because that's who I am. That's my identity. Not because I've earned it, not because I've performed enough for it, but because it's who I am. It's who you are. This isn't about just adding more tools to your toolkit. It's about changing the entire operating system that's running underneath the surface. You're running on the holidays, and the holidays have this tendency to just like give it fertilizer. Like it just breeds the strength into this performance trap. So here's what we're covering today. First of all, we're going to get real. We're going to get real about what's actually going on this holiday season, the behaviors, the gymnastics, the approval-seeking patterns. Then we're going to expose the stronghold. What's the false belief that's running the show? Like, what's going on beneath there? What's the lie that you're agreeing with that every time you overextend, every time you say yes when you should say no, every time you laugh at somebody's critical joke, what is the lie you're agreeing with at that moment? And finally, we're going to do some identity work where we reclaim the authority. By the end of today's episode, you're going to have permission to stop performing. And you're going to know, not just intellectually, not just in your head, but with every fiber of your being, that you don't need anyone's approval to be enough. So let me paint you a picture. Let's think about a lady, let's call her Renee. She's 42 years old. She's been married for, say, 15 plus years. She's got some kids. Maybe they're in middle school or high school. She's done therapy. She's set some boundaries. And she is most definitely not the woman she was at 25. And she's okay with that. But this holiday season, she finds herself right back in the performance trap. And here is what her November and December look like. She volunteers to host Thanksgiving, even though she'd rather keep it small. Why? Well, because if she doesn't host, then her mother-in-law will. And then she'll feel guilty for not helping, or worse, she'll feel like she's not good enough and that she's not a good enough daughter-in-law. She's making 3 different types of dietary accommodating side dishes because her sister's vegan, her nephew has food allergies, and her father expects a traditional meal. She's trying to make everyone comfortable, everyone happy, and everyone feel seen. In the meantime, she is feeling completely invisible. She says yes to her kids' school volunteer request, even though she's coordinating gifts for her husband's office. She's planning her own family gathering, and she's managing the holiday card list that she doesn't even want to send, but she feels obligated to because, well, what would people think if we don't? She spends hours agonizing over the perfect gift for her mother, not because she wants to delight her, but because she's still trying to earn her approval at 42. She's thinking and scrolling Amazon at midnight thinking, well, will this be enough? Will she think this is enough, or will she think I'm enough? She's exhausted before December even starts, but she keeps going because stopping at this point feels like a failure. But here's what's happening inside her head. She's thinking, if I don't show up perfectly, they'll be disappointed in me. If I say no, they'll think I'm being selfish. If I set a boundary, they'll pull away from me. If I don't make everyone happy, then that means I'm not a good wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend. If they're upset with me, then I failed. Do you hear it? Every single one of those thoughts is all about them. It's all about their approval, their happiness, their opinion of her. And the subtext under all of it is that I'm only valuable if they validate me. I'm only enough if they say I am. And now here's what she's doing as a result. She is overfunctioning. She's taking on emotional labor that isn't hers. She's managing everyone else's feelings while ignoring her own. She's silencing herself when her husband's family makes passive-aggressive comments. She smiles. When her sister criticizes her parenting, she deflects. When her mother guilts her, she complies. She's shape-shifting. With her in-laws, she's the dutiful daughter-in-law. And with her kids, she's the Pinterest mom. And with her friends, she's the strong one who holds it all together. But she's performing based on her audience. She's trying to be everything everybody else needs, or she's trying to be everything she thinks everybody else needs, or what she thinks everybody else expects of her. And the thing is, she's never showing up as herself. She's not showing up as who she is. She's showing up as who she thinks they expect her to be, or who they do expect her to be. And she's losing herself in the process. She's exhausted and she's stuck. Sound familiar? Well, here's what's really happening. Is Renee's probably you. And you're probably operating from the stronghold that you must be approved by others because your self-worth is completely dependent upon their opinion of you and your performance. And it's an approval addiction. We talked about that last week, we talked about that at our last episode. But it's constantly running the show. And the thing is, the holidays bring up the approval addict. Man, it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. Like it's always there in operation underneath. But the holidays have a way of just putting a magnifying glass on it. Like, boom, here it is. Because there's just so many things going on. There's so many things and we feel like we need to do them all and we need to perform for them all. And these are so many different opportunities for everyone to validate our worth. But here's the thing, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because we can show up and we can perform and we can give and give and give and give. And we want to. As an approval addict, we want to perform for other people. We want to do because we believe that if we do, then they're going to validate us and they're going to approve of us and then they're going to be okay with us. And if they're okay with us, then that means that we're okay. We're good. We're approved. But the thing is, we also resent it because there's a part of us that feels like, why should I have to prove myself in order for you to love me? Why can't you just love me? the way I am. And so we want to show up, we want to perform, but then we resent the performance at the same time. It's this never-ending cycle of negativity and self-deprecation, and we don't know how to get off. And the thing is, it's not working. How has it been working for you up to this point? I imagine not at all. If you're anything like Renee, you're running yourself into the ground. You're trying to do everything for everybody, be everything for everybody, and you're exhausted, and you're probably a little pissed off underneath the surface because you're wondering, when are they just going to love me for me? Quit waiting on them to love you for you and start loving you for yourself. And that's how you start taking back your authority over these situations. When we're waiting for someone else to love us before we feel good, we're operating from an orphan system, an orphan spirit, orphan operating system, whatever you want to call it. Either way, it's a mentality that tells me that I must earn my place. It tells me that I'm only valuable if they validate me. It's a spirit that tells me I need to be afraid of rejection, so I'll perform in order to stay safe. But we never really feel safe because there's always more to perform. There's always more to do. And so we never really feel safe. We always feel like we have to do more because I performed and I didn't get the validation I was looking for. So now I need to perform more. I'm still not safe. So I got to go and do more. You don't ever really feel safe, but that's what you're seeking from an orphan system. That's what you're seeking from an orphan spirit. And an orphan spirit believes that my worth is completely tied to what I do for others. But here's the difference. Here's the thing. We weren't called to live as orphans. We're not orphans. In fact, you're a daughter of the Most High. You're a king. You were called into sonship. You were called into the air. You were called into royalty. And daughters think completely different than orphans do. Let me give you some examples of what a daughter thinks. She thinks, my place is already secure. I'm valuable because of whose I am and not what I do. I don't need other people's approval because I already have my Father's, and you're not God. My worth is tied to my identity and not my performance. And here's what most women don't realize is that we can't set boundaries from an orphan spirit. We can't set boundaries from an orphan operating system because orphans do not have any authority. You ever thought about that? Orphans don't have any authority. They're simply just trying to survive. They're beggars. They're just trying to stay in good standing with people so that they don't get killed or thrown into slavery or sold to the sweatshop or whatever. Like, they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to get from this moment to the next moment without being murdered in the process. They don't have any way to stand on their own 2 feet because they don't. They're just trying not to get rejected. Just please don't reject me. I have nowhere else to go. Think about it. If you have an orphan, like a literal orphan, I have nowhere to go. I'm here at the orphanage. And if I don't abide by the rules and stay in good standing, where am I going to go? I have nowhere to go. I just don't want to be rejected. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do in order to stay in good standing with you. But I have no authority on my own. A daughter thinks very differently. A daughter has authority. A daughter has an inheritance. Daughters have power. All right, so let's do some work today, okay? Let's reclaim this. Step 1. What I want you to do is I want you to reclaim your authority over the definition of what is enough. Right now, you're letting other people define what enough is for you. Your mother-in-law gets to decide if you're a good enough hostess. Your kids get to decide if you're a good enough mother. Your husband's family gets to decide if you're a good enough wife. Your sister gets to decide if you're showing up correctly for your kids. Here's the question that changes everything. Who gave them the authority to decide what enough is for you? Let that sink in for a second. And I'm not trying to shame or anything like that, but girl, you gave them that authority and it was never theirs to begin with. So now take it back. And it's really simple. Listen, they don't get to define you. They don't get to grade you. They don't get to measure your worth. It was never theirs to operate in. God already defined you. He already declared you chosen. He already declared you loved and complete. You're already enough. You don't need their validation because you already have his. So now your first act is to redefine what enough is based off of God's truth and not other people's opinion. And here's what this looks like practically. When your mother-in-law makes a comment about the turkey being dry, you don't spiral into, I'm not good enough. I knew I would fail. I knew I would mess up. No, instead you ask yourself, do I have authority over whether this meal was enough or not? Yes. Did I do my best? Yeah. Then I'm good. Her opinion doesn't define me. Okay, here's another example. When your sister criticizes your parenting, you don't scramble to defend yourself or change your approach. Instead, you ask this question. Do I have authority over how I parent my kids? Yes. Am I parenting from a place of values that God has shown me? Yes. Then I'm good. And her disapproval doesn't disqualify me. Do you see the shift? Do you see where you're not performing for their approval anymore? Where you're actually operating from your authority, the one that rightfully belongs to you, and you're not giving it away to them anymore? You're operating from an authority that's rooted in who God says you are, not who they need you to be. All right, step 2. Now we're going to expose the orphan operating system. So this is where you have to actually get to be honest with yourself. Can't fake your way out of this one, because if you fake your way, you're just going to end up right back here again. You can't shift what you can't see. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Where am I performing instead of just being? Am I taking on tasks or responsibilities I don't want because I'm afraid of what they'll think? Am I saying yes when I mean no because I need their approval? Where am I shape-shifting to gain approval? Am I showing up as a different version of myself depending on who I'm with? Am I hiding parts of myself because they might not be acceptable? Where am I abandoning myself to keep the peace? Am I ignoring my own needs, desires, and boundaries to accommodate everyone else? Am I silencing my voice because I'm afraid of their response? Where am I waiting for external validation to feel okay about myself? Am I checking for their reaction, their approval, their praise to determine if I did enough? Am I measuring my worth by their response instead of my identity? Wherever you said yes to these questions, that's where an orphan spirit is in operation. It's where you're still operating from fear, from performance, and from the need to prove yourself. And the lie that lives underneath it all is, I need their approval to be okay. Because without it, I'm not. You don't need their approval. You already have your father's. You are his daughter. That is your identity. It's your inheritance. And nobody gets to take that from you. Nobody gets to take that from you. Not your mother-in-law, not your mother, not your sister, not your father, your brother, your husband, your kids. Nobody gets to take that from you. Nobody. Now, step 3. This is where we're going to step into sonship. This is where the transformation happens. This is where you trade that orphan spirit, that orphan operating system for your true identity. You're going to stop performing. And here's what that looks like for this holiday season. You're going to stop performing. And I don't mean I quit. I just throw in the towel. I'm not going to do anything anymore. But you're going to actually start showing up as yourself. Not the version that they want you to be, and not the version that makes them comfortable. Yourself, fully expressed, fully you. And so I love practical application. I know this all sounds great in theory, but practically, I love practical application. I think theory is all great and good, but how do I apply that to my life today, right now? What is something I can do to see shift and change in my life right now? And I love that. So practically, here's what you're going to do. You're going to stop performing. You're going to show up as yourself. And here's what it means. It means you make the side dishes that you want to make. It means you host Thanksgiving the way you want to host Thanksgiving, not the way your mother wants you to, or the way your mother-in-law or anybody else. You host Thanksgiving and do Thanksgiving your way. It means you're not making 15 different dishes to accommodate everybody's dietary requests and preferences. It means that you're going to give gifts from the heart, not because of fear of judgment. You stop shape-shifting and start standing. You're going to stand in your identity. You're going to stop changing yourself to fit their expectations. You're going to stop showing up the way you think they want you to be and being different for every person, depending on who's the room. You're actually going to start showing up as who you are, regardless of what room you're in. So practically, how does that look? Well, when your sister criticizes your parenting, you say something, you don't go and defend or deflect. You basically say, well, I appreciate your input, but I'm confident in the way I'm raising my kids. And you move on. You don't need her to agree. You don't need her approval. You know who you are as a mother. And her opinion doesn't shake that. Stop abandoning yourself and start honoring yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness and respect that you're treating everybody else. So what does that look like practically? Well, it means that you may have to say, I'm not able to take that on this year. And you don't have to give them an explanation why. And you don't have to apologize. You leave the holiday dinner when you're ready, not when you think that they're going to approve of you being there long enough. It looks like you've given yourself permission to rest and not feeling guilty about it. You stop waiting for validation and you start walking in your authority. You operate from the truth of your identity as a daughter, a sonship, an heir, that you're loved and you're chosen and you're enough. And you let that truth dictate your choices, not others' opinions. And so what does that look like practically? Well, it means that you make decisions based on what aligns with your values and not what will keep other people happy. It means you stop checking for their approval and start trusting your own discernment. It means that when you walk into every room this season, you know that you're enough. Not because you performed well, not because that you were validated, but because that's who you are. All right, so now let's bring this home for some very practical application for over the next 6 weeks. Here's what your holiday freedom framework looks like, all right? Before every gathering, I want you to ask yourself this. Am I showing up as myself or am I performing? Whose approval am I seeking right now? What would change if I remembered I'm already enough? Then during every interaction, I want you to remind yourself, I have authority here. I don't need to shrink. Their discomfort is not my responsibility. I'm choosing to honor myself, not abandon myself. And then after every gathering, have some reflection. Ask yourself, where did I honor myself today? Where did I slip back into performing? And what's one way I'll show up differently next time? And here's probably one of the most important things about the whole thing. And I know I've said it over and over and over again, but here's the deal. It really is, it's really vital. Give yourself some grace. Look, you're not going to do this perfectly. You're not going to walk in there and be, I'm a whole new woman and ain't nobody got nothing on me, and then walk out of there and not get touched by something. You're not going to do this perfectly. You're not going to do this perfectly. You're going to slip back into the same old patterns, old habits. You're going to people please. You're going to over-explain yourself. You're going to feel guilty for setting a boundary. It's okay. It's all right, because look, that is normal. That is just part of the process. That's normal. It's because here's the deal. It's not walking in identity is not about perfection. Like, I feel so incredibly secure as to who I am. And like, I don't walk into rooms wondering if everybody's going to be okay with me. Like, I walk into a room and I carry a certain level of authority, and everyone in the room knows it. And sometimes they label it as, not so nice words, but it's not because they know me. It's because I know me. I know who I am, and I'm confident in that. And so it can be intimidating to people. And I've been walking in identity for years and years and years and years. And I've taught hundreds of other people how to walk in identity. And I've seen them break free over and over and over again so many times. But I still don't do it perfectly. There are times that I fall back into old habits of trying to be everything for everybody, wanting everybody to be happy with me, especially with my family, especially with my husband and my kids, and just wanting to be what I think they want me to be. I want them to be happy with me. And so I fall into those same old habits and patterns that I've had for years and years. I don't always do it perfectly, but I will tell you this. When I fall into that trap, I give myself some grace. I pick myself up, dust off my pants, and I keep going. And I reinstate and I recalibrate back into who I am and my identity. That's the thing. You've also got decades. You've got a lifetime of conditioning that you're having to rewrite. Imagine a chalkboard that's got your whole entire life story written on it. And now you're having to erase it off and write a new one. That takes time, and you're not going to do it perfectly. But here's the thing. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be recalibrated. And that recalibration starts with remembering that you're not an orphan. You're a daughter. And daughters have authority. Daughters don't have to perform for approval. They walk in the room with authority. So here's my challenge for you this holiday season. Pick one. Pick one area this holiday season that you're going to determine and make that decision to show up and stop performing. One place where you're going to reclaim your authority. One moment where you're going to choose yourself over others' approval. And then I want you to watch what happens. Okay, if this episode resonated with you at all, I want you to do something. Don't just listen and move on. Actually do the work. Go back and re-listen to it all. Write down your answers. It's not just information. This is actual transformation. This is what changes your life. And if you know of another woman who is drowning in the performance trap this holiday season, pass this episode on to her. She's probably exhausted and she's tired of having to be everything to everyone. And she could probably use some help, and she needs permission to stop. And this may be the very thing. Also, if you are feeling like you need to go deeper, feeling like you need to go a little bit more, I'm holding a workshop on November 25th. I have the link below in the description box. Go click it, check it out, get a reservation. I'm holding it to a very small group because I want to be able to go deep with who shows up. But I want you to remember that you are enough and you've always been enough. You don't have to earn what you already have, and you don't have to earn who you already are. Now go be yourself this season, and I'll see you next time.